It's time for the B-A-Q-A-A, the B-A-Q-A with Tiffany, the B-A-Q-A, no Manday, but the B-A-Q-A with Lacey. You know what's so crazy? When Mandy's not in the studio, we be having people whose names rhyme either way. Okay? The B-A-Q-A-A. Welcome back in black to Brown Ambition Question and Answer in the Stew. I have an amazing brown black woman named Lacy Robinson. Lacey is the president and CEO of Unbound Ed, an education organization that offers standards-aligned resources and immersive professional learning for teachers and leaders seeking equity. She has over 20 years experience in education and focuses on helping educators in school systems disrupt systemic racism and its legacy. Lacey also is the new author of the amazing book, Justice Seekers, Pursuing Equity in the Details of Teaching and Learning. Welcome to the stew.
Yes.
Well, back to the stew. Lacey, how are you?
I'm so good. You know how excited I am to hear that song. I was like, I can't wait to hear the song.
Oh my goodness. So we have Lacey in the stew. She's written this amazing book about justice seeking. She is a woman after my own heart because she, like me, started off in the early education classroom. And she's written this book to help. She said what did you say, Lacey? You told me that kind of like offline, this is what, a love letter to educators?
Yes, it's my love letter to the edusphere. Mm-hmm. It is. It tells our triumphs, our woes, my hopes and dreams. Mm-hmm. And ultimately it's a love letter for us from educator to educator. So yeah.
I love awesome. That. So if you're an educator, if you know an educator, because I feel like every year it gets harder and harder to do the good work. I think it's going to be just a perfect book to read and to connect with from a fellow educator. So, Lacey, you're in the stew today for BAQA, and instead of taking questions externally, I'm gonna take your questions, sis. Even though Lacey over here slaying it. Okay, first of all, Unbounded, where she is the president and CEO, Ms. President and CEO. It's like a $40 million organization. Okay, so she went to Columbia. You said something like in the episode prior, like I didn't go to Harvard or Yale, as if Columbia's not Ivy League. Don't do that, girl. We're not doing that. We are not downplaying black and brown excellence. Not on my watch. Okay. Don't make me get on my Ayana, right? And on top of that, she's written this book that Justice Seekers that debuted at #1 in its category in Amazon. Okay, like we're not doing that. There's just excellence, like just flowing through her brain and body. Okay, so you're gonna ask me some questions. So, one first, is it gonna be a business question, career, child, you good? Business, financial question. What's the first question you want to ask me?
Okay, so it's a financial question. So I'm going to suppose, and I'm going to do this on behalf of the edusphere.
Okay, good, perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I am, I'm about to graduate. I'm in undergrad. I'm going to receive my degree in elementary education.
Okay.
Every time I tell someone that I'm going to become a teacher, I get that conservative look like, oh, girl, you just gonna be broke for the rest of your life. Okay. Like, what? A teacher? You could, go work for Google or whatever. What advice would you give a soon-to-be graduate teacher around how to start off in this career? Mm-hmm. And not play into that role of the broke, busted, broke down educator that ain't never gonna make enough money. What's your advice you would give?
Well, first I would say one, there are sites like, I wonder if the site is still up, like Smarty Pig, I believe, where you can see, well, one, you should get clear on what you're gonna make, because like literally before you get your first paycheck, you should know what you're going to make, and then you're going to plug that into like a website. I believe it's called Smarty Pig, or there's other ones where you can calculate based upon your state what your take home will actually be.
Okay.
Because, let's just say you're making 40,000. Now, it's not 40,000 divided by 12, child. Because, FICA and LICA and everybody got to get their touch. Everybody got to get a little touch. They got to get a little taste in. Right? So you want to know exactly what you're going to make. And this goes for anybody, no matter what your job is, your first job, what you're going to make. So you can get clear and start to create a budget before you even start working. So let's just say you find out I don't know, like every 2 weeks, you're going to be making $1,500. Then you can start asking yourself, I would want you to start to budget in what are the more expensive. This is what I did. This is literally me. I was graduating. I decided I wanted to be a teacher, early childhood education. My parents basically acted like I said I wanted to be a drug dealer. And so I remember I was like, okay, I knew I was graduating. I had a job lined up. I was making $39,000. That's what they offered. And my sister at the time told me, go on this site so you can see what you're going to make. I had never heard of that. I was like, okay. And then when I saw it was maybe like, I don't know, I can't remember, maybe in that 1,200 every 2 weeks range. I vaguely remember something in that range. And then I asked myself, like, the most expensive thing that I have to pay for is likely going to be housing. And if I'm being honest, I know everyone does not have this capability, but I stayed home for 1 year after graduating to get myself together. So if you have the opportunity, because I know it's not available to everyone, if you have the opportunity to, stay home or at a place that's low cost right after graduating for a little while, 6 months to a year to get yourself together, take that opportunity. That's one. If you don't have that opportunity, that's okay. Because the second thing I did was I moved in with my sister and I decided, let's put our money together. Yes. And so I found me a roommate. It doesn't have to be your sister. It could be your cousin. It could be your friend, whoever, but a roommate that you think is reasonably responsible. And we started to apartment look like collectively. And we found a place at the time. It was $1,100, which, that was many moons ago, child. Yes. Right. But here's the thing. Even then, 1,100 was low, but we were able to get it because we thought outside the box. I didn't just look at regular apartments. This was a house being rented out by a woman who actually had a daycare center next door. So she was more concerned with who's living all here than making a ton of money. So I remember her wanting to meet me and my sister. She was like, okay, I'll keep it at 1,100 because you guys seem like good girls who are going to live here and not be tearing up and drinking and partying, because that was important for her business. Yeah. So you wanted to look outside. I was looking outside the box so look outside the box for housing, and that it doesn't always have to be this traditional in a house or what, in an apartment. If you can get yourself a roommate, 2 or 3, it's not forever. Okay. So that way you could keep your costs low. And one of the things I did why I was able to move home is I saved and bought my first car used. Girl, I have not had a new car. Like when I was in college, my father, because I have 4 sisters, for 3 of us, he leased a car for us that we all had to share. So that just meant I was on Saturday morning where the moms be taking all the kids everywhere. That was me. He was like, you want to use that car? Then you better take this one for her hair appointment, this one to soccer practice. This one. I said, I'm a soccer mom. I ain't got no kids. But I wanted that car though. Right. But since it was a lease, it was like the year model. So that was the first and last time I ever had a new car. I'm 43 years old and I have yet to see the inside of a brand new car. Okay. My first car, I saved up, I think it was $2,500 or $3,000, and I purchased it, from the auction myself, got it. I had a good mechanic in my neighborhood who, helped me to figure out what car was not going to be all busted. I kept that car. It was a 99 Nissan Altima. And I kept that car until it was 216,000 miles on that car. Okay. Wow. So I'm just saying, you don't have to do all that, but it was very helpful to not have a car note, and it kept my insurance low. So the key is right after especially when you're starting off in this life professionally, is to keep your monthly expenses low. How can I keep my housing expenses low? Can I stay home? Can I get a roommate? How can I keep my car or traveling expenses low? Can I save up? I would not be getting anybody's new car. Even my car now, when I purchased it, it was 2 years old, because cars depreciate, meaning they lose their value right after, so in every aspect of my life, I was like, do we really need, at the time, cable was big. Do we really need cable or just internet? So we just had internet. I made sure when we purchase furniture, although I don't buy, I call it, soft furniture, meaning cause people be having bed bugs, child. We're not doing all that. But I'm talking about wood furniture you can wipe down. I would go to rich neighborhoods because, typically once every few months or so, neighborhoods have typically a bulk trash day. Right. Yeah. And so what I found out is the week before bulk trash day, oftentimes people have garage sales. Yeah. Because they much rather, get rid of stuff. So I would go to the wealthiest neighborhood I could find in my area and go to their little garage sales, girl, and get me some good furniture for, $100, $200, and so that's the thing is that, it might feel well, that sounds like broke living. It wasn't, because I was able to keep my living expenses far below what I made. And it allowed me to not have to work in the summer. because, like
Yep.
as a teacher, so I didn't have to work in the summer to enjoy my summer. And then I saved up enough because I started to work on the side. I started to tutor and babysitting things on the side because I knew I wanted to purchase a home. And so after 2 and almost 3 years of saving, I had like $20,000 or so saved, and I put a down payment on a condo. Okay. And then my sister paid me rent.
Okay.
Because that's what we do. I give a little discount, But you see, like, the key is, as soon as you start making money, before it even hits, figure out your financial plan and create that budget ahead of time. And then live well below your means. And do not forget, especially as an educator, you likely have access to a 403B or 401k.
I was just about to ask that.
Child, don't wait. I know too many educators who 30 years later are like, wait, I don't automatically. So you might have a pension, which is rare these days. You might, but the likelihood is you don't. You have to actively put money into like whatever that retirement account is that's being offered through your school. And it's important that you don't just put the money in. You want to make sure that it's being invested. Because people will put the money into the account and not realize that they will just put it into a savings account for you unless you actively say it needs to be invested. And you might be like, girl, I don't know nothing about investing. You don't need to know. This is what you're going to do. You're going to put your money in, like you're going to say, okay, take your $100, whatever, every pay period. It's going to go into your account, like at your 403B or 401k or whatever your school is offering or wherever you're working is offering. And then you're going to look for something called a target date fund. A target date fund is an easy way to invest without having to know how to do anything. A target date fund is just this. It says, what year do you think you're going to retire? So if you're 25, you might set it for 35 years from now when I'm 65, whatever time that is. And you're going to find a target date fund that's as close to that year. So it'll be like TDF 2050, TDF, so you'll find a target date fund close to the year of retirement that you're thinking. Because it's usually, target date funds are usually every 5 years they'll give you. Right. And then you're going to put your money into that target date fund. So like I said, you want to make sure that you're not just saying, hey, take the $100 out, put it into the TDF 2050 target date fund. And what makes it so special is that the target date fund is going to rebalance itself every year based upon how close you are to retirement. Because the closer you are to retirement, the less risky your investment should be. If you're 20, 90% of your investments might be stocks. If you're 60, 90% might be in bonds or cash. You see what I mean? But you don't have to worry about all that because the target date fund will rebalance on your behalf. And so like if you do that, you are better than not better, but financially more secure than more than like 80% of people. Like, so get your budget on before you get your money and make sure from day one that you are putting money in your retirement account and use a target date fund so you don't have to worry about it. If you have questions, for BF1, I always forget my legal disclaimer, child. So I'm not your mama. I'm not your doctor. I'm not your attorney, child. I am just one of your favorite financial internet cousins. So you're going to take what I say with a grain of salt, the smallest possible, and you're going to see your grandmother, not me. Okay. So, you want to lean into the people that you pay for professional advice. Certainly you can share what I've said, but you want to choose for yourself and lean into the people that you pay for professional advice from. We're in the stew with Lacy Robinson. Lacy is the new author of the book, Justice Seekers, Pursuing Equity in the Details of Teaching and Learning. Lacy, pop quiz about your book. Okay. So if I am, what's the difference that like maybe a seasoned teacher versus a brand new teacher, like what are those two educators going to get from your book? If I'm seasoned and I've been at it 10, 15 years, child, I'm tired versus like, I'm so excited, I'm brand new. What are those two educators going to get?
So a seasoned teacher is going to get confirmation or affirmed, I would say, because I would think what I hear in the edusphere is that a lot of the things I experience, other educators experience. They're going to get an opportunity to stop and ask themselves some self-reflection about their own teaching and what they have stood on. Or even that little instinct that happens as a teacher when you're like, something's not quite right. Even they're asking me to do this. I think my students need this. They're certainly going to get the GLEAN framework, grade level, engaging, affirming, meaningful, which we ask all educators to think about as they're constructing, deconstructing, reconstructing their lessons. As a new teacher, they're going to get, I would say, some of my experiences that I had as a new teacher, some of my experiences I had as a student. They're going to get some of the formidable research that we have stood on at Unbound Ed around pursuing the justice in the details of teaching and learning. And what I really hope that all teachers get from this book is that we are a collective community, honey. And when we put our minds together, we can do anything.
I love that. Yes. Ashe. Okay. All right. So you say you got a question for little old me, girl. What you want to ask?
I do. So here's my second part of my question, right? So I started with the new teacher, right? So I was talking to a mentee of mine the other day. She's really excited. She is about to get her administrative license. She's working on her doctorate right now. She's almost done. And she will soon be applying for AP positions. Now, these AP positions in the systems that she's going to, honey, are starting at 6 figures, okay? Ooh. And this is her first time really moving into that kind of pay scale. Okay. And so what advice would you give her going from she's a mom, she has 2 kids, she has, you know, her regular bills, but seeing in her future a salary jump. And she said to me, I just want to live below my means. And I said, that's what everybody says, babe. So what advice would you give her as she's looking at that horizon?
Yes, it's cute over here. We'll just say that first and foremost. Right? Okay. So one, I'll start off with similar advice that I give to a new teacher is that for everyone, whenever money's coming in, you won the lottery, you about to get a raise, before the money hits, there is what I call before money Tiffany and after money Tiffany, right? Okay. Because after money Tiffany is like, who said that? What? Budget? No, she done lost her mind. Let me win $20 million in the lottery. You know, if you don't have a plan in place, the money will do what it want to do. I want you to think about money like a 2-year-old, right? You know, you're like, ooh, you know, tomorrow, this one. The 2-year-old is like, girl, I don't know what she's talking about. We're going to do what I say. And that's what your money is plotting like, unless you have a plan in place to like get your 2-year-old to realize, okay, we wake up, we brush our teeth. We do. That's why we have all these daggone songs in preschool. Cause you got to get the kids on board, like clean up, you know, like, so you have to make the plan ahead of time. So same thing, you know, like, mentee who's going to be making 6 figures. One, let's see how much that really shakes out to be. You know, find, like I said, I don't know if it's Smarty Pig, but there is, I will have to find the link and give it to Imani, our producer, the link for a site where you can just Google too, like, how much, is $100,000 in my state, like breaking down, like what my paycheck. Oh, you know what it's called? Paycheck City. That's what it's called. Paycheckcity.com. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you will go and you put in your 200, whatever it is, put in your state because it's actually going to withdraw the state taxes. And you will see this is what your paycheck will actually be and then you put in how often you get paid every 2 weeks, biweekly, whatever. So you want to know what that is. And then look at your current bills now and then ask yourself off the top, how much of this am I going to make into like what I call a savings bill? You know? So let's just say I'm just making up a number. You're going to be making an extra $1,000 a month, right?
Okay.
So you might say to yourself, I would really love, I'm already saving $200 a month. I would really love to get myself, you know, up to like maybe add another 500 onto it. That's a new bill. So that way, when it comes in, I would want to know, when is my first paycheck coming? Because I'm automating having that 500 join that 200 into that savings account. Even better, you can literally do a split it before you get it. You can go down to HR and say, before you give me my money, here's how I want you to split my money. 4 bank accounts. Checking account number 1 for my, this is like a spending account. This is kind of like where your money lands that you use for your debit card. You know, you go food shopping, get your hair done, nails done, the kids. Okay. Checking account number 2, your bills account. Add up your bills and you should know every 2 weeks how much money needs to be in that bills account. And you can let them know this is how much for my paycheck to put in that bills account. Savings account number 1. This is emergency, unexpected savings. So, you know, you might tell yourself, you know, 150, 200, 300, whatever that is, that's going to go there. And then savings account number 2 and the 4th account is going to be long-term savings. This is when you're saving for something big, either saving to invest, saving to purchase a home, a car, and you can literally have HR split your money before you get your money. So if you're afraid that like, oh, I don't have the discipline, you ain't got to have discipline, sis. You just got to have 4 accounts. And before that money gets here, you have the plan of how much it needs to go in each account. And you know what that is already because you're going to go to Paycheck City, and Paycheck City is going to break down for you how much you're going to get. And if you do that, then you can literally live under your means without having to think about it and you give yourself a little raise in every category. So you might say to yourself, okay, I'm making an extra 1,000. I'm going to absorb at 300 to increase my lifestyle, and the 700, so some of that, because you'll say like, okay, in my checking account that's attached to my debit card, you know, an extra 300 can land there and I could do whatever I want with it. Or maybe you're going to purchase something and you're like, okay, I'm financing it temporarily and it's going to be an extra $100 a month. But you can allow yourself to absorb some of that new income, and the rest you're going to have chopped up. If you do a split it before you get it, you will not miss it. I promise you. It will just land, and you will swipe your card knowing you're not swiping bill money because you don't have a debit card for your bills account. You're not swiping emergency savings, and you're not swiping your long-term savings. Your 2 checking should be at your regular bank, wherever you bank now, and your 2 savings should be at an online only bank, because it has a high yield savings accounts there, where instead of getting paid 0.1%, you might get 4, almost 5% on the money that you have saved there. If you do that, sis, you're going to be gooder than good. You're going to be great. But yeah, like that's great. Honestly, if you do that every single time, you get a bump. You get a raise. It's pre-planned for the money. You will see that you will make whatever your financial goals are. You'll be closer and closer. And because you have 2 little kids, and, you know, the last thing I will say is, at that, you know, making, you know, 6 figures or multiple 6 figures, you know, it's not a bad idea to consider infusing a certified financial planner into the mix. You know, it's not so, like for me, because I'm like growing wealth, like I have my meeting with her, Anjali, my financial planner, next week. But you don't have to meet with them regularly. You can literally get a certified financial planner that you just like, they help you create a plan, and it's a one-off. It's like $1,200 to create a plan. You could just do that. Or you can have someone that you speak to regularly. Maybe you hire them for the year annually. Or just kind of project based. You just say, hey, sometimes they're anywhere from like $150 an hour to $300 an hour to just basically talk through a financial thing that you're working through. So the key is you want to pay out of pocket, never a percentage of what you have invested, because that's going to be very expensive down the line. But like, especially if you have children, a financial planner will help you create plans for them. You know, if you want them to go to school or whatever, they'll help you with estate planning, but it has to be a certified financial planner. That's the gold star, the gold standard in the financial space, a CFP, player hated degree. So, you know, but yeah, if you do that, you'll be good.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, times may have changed, but for educators, I know in a lot of public school systems, those folks are available. Like a lot of people miss the opportunity or don't recognize that they have a financial planner that's attached to their retirement or attached to. Okay, I got a final question. I promise it's my final question.
Is this your business question for you?
Yeah, this is my business question for you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. We're gonna allow it. We're allowing it.
So this is me, and on behalf of, I want to say, other women of color who have found themselves in similar positions as me.
Okay.
Right? So we have, through, I say the grace of God and our own gifts and talents, found ourselves in these positions as leaders, CEOs, and presidents. And let's be real. We have basically used our intellectual property to make our way through, right? To be able to support, push up, pull forward either the groups of people that we've led, or the organizations or the institutions that we lead. What would be your advice to us in terms of our intellectual property and ensuring that we're not just giving away our gifts and talents, but that those gifts and talents are actually pulling back into our own financial security, our own financial legacy? What advice would you give?
So it depends on where you work, right? Because, you know, sometimes, you know, I mean, the people are, you know, the point of these organizations is, you know, they want, your gifts and talents. So you want to first make sure, what is the policy here about how I can utilize my gifts and talents in a way that does not conflict with what I'm doing here. And one of the best ways to do that typically is consulting. This is what I have seen from some of my friends who are like foot in the CEO space, but also oftentimes they can't speak for money because of the position that they hold, which is okay, but they are allowed to consult. So you have to make sure that is allowed within your the space where you work. Like I had a friend who teaches people how to get like procurement, like and so but she worked for the city, like looking at people's RFPs and deciding. So it was, she had to ask like, hey, I teach people how to secure procurement, but then she's on the other side looking at people who want, to secure procurement with the city. So she certainly had to ask. She actually ended up subsequently switching to another job that paid really well, but allowed her to also have this business that she started. So consider consulting, consider, creating an LLC in a business. So not just consulting as like, hey, I'm Tiffany Consulting. No, there's so many tax benefits to a business because the government knows that like the back of this economy is built on the on small businesses. And so as a result, there are so many tax benefits that are not available to the individual. So I would start, like a Lacy Robinson LLC. And, and so allow the people to pay me through that. And then that way I can write off like, girl, this hair don't do itself. Would I pay for this hair? Because guess what? I'm taping something next week. And so would I pay the $100, $200 to get my hair retightened? Best believe Budgetnista pays for that. Okay. There's certain clothes that I literally set aside that are just Budgetnista clothes. Like I'm pretty much a tomboy outside of like the stage. And so I'm like, Budgetnista have set aside, money for that. And even better, like I was doing Rent the Runway, which is even better. Because it really proves I'm literally just renting these clothes for the time being for this particular business. So you want to be able to write things off by having and securing, like having a business. Also, too, the beautiful part is that this is what I learned from my friend who has a procurement business, is that then you can qualify for a small Black woman owned business and allows you, to potentially get even more contract work. And then I would also, like one of my really great friends, Tony, she's also my attorney. Shout out to Tony Moore, the best attorney in the world, a sister, because we love a smart sister. Tony used to remind me, I remember one time I was working with, I'll just keep it light. I was working with people who I didn't trust. And they did something that was kind of underhanded. And I was like, ooh, Tony, and Tony found it in one of our contracts. I said, ooh, girl, I'm about to tell her off. And Tony said, she said, Tiffany, everyone doesn't need to know how smart you are. And I was like, come again?
Come on,
She said, everyone doesn't need to know how smart you are. There are instances where it is best for people to underestimate you so they can show their hand and you can move accordingly. And I was like, what? So I can't tell her off? She said, no. Because she was like, look how she's exposing all of these things. And as a result, we're putting it in a contract. And look how you've locked in a contract that is overly favorable because she does not know how smart you are. So she just telling it all. And I was like, oh, girl, I guess, but she was right. She was like, call a girlfriend and fuss with the girlfriend, be like, girl, do you know this people? She's like, that's what you call them for. But no, let them expose their hand and think that you don't know. Meanwhile, I'm over here. It's like, she said, what now? In the contract. What else did she say? So I say that to say that where you work, if you know that this is not your forever spot, you don't have to bring all of your brilliance here. Everyone don't need your husband. You can set aside and this is for me to decide and work on projects that you plan to launch when you're not there.
Come on now.
That's what I would be doing. Now, the beautiful thing is certainly you could test out some hypotheses where you are, which is great because, child, while we're here, we're going to learn. But it doesn't mean that I have to roll out the full idea here necessarily because I'm saving that for me and my LLC. So just keeping that in mind that I can build this, this is a good tester and I'm building it and this doesn't take away from the company, but you don't owe it to anyone to give your life's blood and every drop of brilliance. No, where they say that at? No, you don't have to do all that, Yep. So that's what I would say is that get your LLC, consider some consulting work. Also too, you've got a really great network. And so, asking people in your space, I'm very candid. How you make money? Literally, I will ask, I was just asking a friend of mine yesterday. I was like, well, girl, how you making money like that? She was like, oh, girl, I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. I was like, okay, good to know. Because when you do that, because you want your friends in the space, when they figure out a new way to make money, to tap you on the shoulder and be like, child, look, I just learned how to make money in this way. Here's a thing you ought to try. And like I said, again, save some of that brilliance for you. Test out your hypotheses in the space that you're in now, but save some brilliance for you if you have it in your mind that one day you're going to step out and just be you yourself. This is for anyone, listening. You don't owe it to anyone to give all your thing. Everyone doesn't need to know how smart you are. You can say some things for yourself. There's nothing morally wrong with that. And so, And then, the beautiful thing that like my friend Cabral always reminds me is that you are like, the sauce sold separately. Like it's you. You're the sometimes you think to yourself, someone's going to be able to do the thing. No, because the sauce is sold separately. Like everybody can bake chicken, but is it flavored, sis? Like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? You are the sauce and it is sold separately. And where you are is where it goes. You never have to wonder because people can only ever do, if they're copying you, what you've already done. They're late.
Yes.
They're late. Yes, you take that brilliance with you. And then as long as you carry that with you and you have a good network, especially networking with other amazing Black women, is so critically important. Like when we chatted on the phone, I just learned so much. And I was like, my mind just like exploded about what's possible in this space, Yeah. And so like, that's important too, to have a network of people that you could just pour into and be poured into by, so.
Yeah. I will tell you the best advice you gave me just lifted my soul. You said, Lacey, you ain't never gonna be broke. Cause the brilliance that got you where you are now is the same brilliance you're going. And I said, you know what? And that post-traumatic broke syndrome. I said, let me find out Tiffany just broke a chain, honey. I was marching around the house. I was like, the chains have been broken, honey.
No,
she
not
right.
church. No, but it's true. You are brilliant. It's like, girl, I'm sorry. Does that brain not work? Girl, please. Right? It's like you're hearing people like, if you threw me into the wilderness, I would come back wearing a lion skin. And it's like, that's you. Like, you are the sauce. Like, as long as you know that and you carry that with you, please. Like, you are the sauce. And I know that about myself. It took me a while to learn that. But I was like, Tiffany, you will never be broke. There is always a phone call I can make. There is always someone who I can help, who is willing to pay for that help. Always. And so I might not make as much as I'd like, but I'm not going to be broke.
Yes.
When you make it a business of helping other people, people will pour back into you when you're in need. So you will be fine. It's just like knowing that and then navigating from that space. That's critical. You don't want to navigate from a space of like, I feel this deficit. You want to navigate from a space of like, no, I will always be fine. Like the safety nets are in place. I don't actually have to play safe. I can go leap and jump. Like, cause the safety nets are in place.
On now. I hope the boss chicks, I hope the boss women, the boss chicks are listening to this because you have just dropped some knowledge and they need to understand it. And we as Black women, we as women of color have to consistently tell each other that you are brilliant.
Yes.
What got you here is not just going to keep you here. It's going to it's going to push you to the next stratosphere.
Yes.
And I love that about you. You reminded me about that, about myself. And I love that you just spoke that to all of the brilliant women out there that are on that trajectory of president, CEO, leadership, that their brilliance is within them. They have everything that they need.
Yes, to succeed. Everything. And this is a little Vanna Black promo. If I know you already know that I do have a number of mentees. I think right now we're up to 3,700 mentees in our Patreon. My mentor, Tiffany. I know. Patreon, it's currently $20 a month. Girl, that's nothing. It's a live. We get I'm gonna have Lacey come speak because the girls would love you. So I like to have guest speakers sometimes. So once a month, you get a live lesson, and sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's a guest speaker. Like we have a guest speaker coming, Dr. Ortiz, who I mentioned is the vice superintendent of the city of Newark. She's coming to talk about curriculums. Like, y'all want to make these courses and you want to sell curriculum. She's like, here's what they ought to look like. So she's teaching that class, which I'm excited about. There's also like weekly, like kind of like chats, business chats with the other mentees that you get to do digitally. There's a monthly networking session that is so much fun that they do. And also I like to come meet the mentees in person. So when I have a speaking engagement in the city, I make it my business to go out to dinner with about 20 to 25 mentees. And we have a time. Oh, you know what? That's right. You weren't in DC that time that I did the wealth walk. right? You weren't around.
Yes, I was
Yes.
traveling.
So we did a mentee meetup, and it was so good. Just like
Nice.
it, so amazing. Just 25 Black, brown women talking about their businesses, you know, sharing what they needed. And there were so many educators in that space, so many. And to see them intermingle, like, girl, you work where? You do what? I do that. I can help you with this. It was amazing. So if you want to be a mentee, head on over to mymentortiffany.com. Join us over there. It's good over there or whatever. But I'd be remiss to say, other educators, if you're an educator or you know an educator or you friends with an educator, you married to an educator, you gave birth to an educator child, go ahead on over and get you Justice Seekers, Lacy Robinson's new book, Pursuing Equity in the Details of Teaching and Learning, because children truly are our future. And without education, that is GLEAN. What does GLEAN stand for again, Lacy?
GLEAN is a grade level, engaging, affirming, meaningful instruction.
I love that. And so without that, you know, like, what are we actually doing? You know, I used to always tell my parents when I taught, like, this is the baby that's going to knock you over the head when you're 80 years old and steal your purse, or the one that's going to, like, do your open heart surgery, you know, when you go into the hospital. So it's you and how you treat this child that's going to depend on how you're going to meet them later on in life, because you're going to meet them later on in life.
Yes, you are. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
And so, Lacy, where can they get your book, Justice Seekers?
So Justice Seekers available at any, you can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes & Noble's, Target. I was in Books A Million this morning. I saw it there. So you can go online. You can go to unbounded.org, to our website, my company's website, and it has the QR code where you can order the book straight from the publisher. And
where can they follow you if they want to connect and follow you? Because she's an awesome Black woman, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for real, we gotta stay close.
So you can follow me on Instagram at unbounded.org or at MS Lacy Robinson. Same thing, Facebook, unbounded.org or Ms. Lacy Robinson. You can find me on LinkedIn. Also on Twitter, my Twitter handle is Ms. Lacy Robinson or unbounded.org. So
I just want to say thank you so much, Lacy, for coming. You are really, like, your book, which is yellow, just a ray of sunshine. First of all, these glasses are giving life. If you watched on on YouTube, like we told you to, you could see her beautiful, amazing glasses. No, but just thank you for coming. Thank you for the work that you do, because, you know, this space is not easy. And, you know, so many of us, like I mentioned before, tapped out because it just got to be too much. But we need us still here, and to know that not only are you here, you are in, you know, like, you are on top, you know, like you are leading an organization that is leading other, you know, educators. So we're just really grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Hey, BA fam, we're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.